Hello, my name is Dr. Ronda Marie Chakolis. I am a pharmacist and current president of the Minnesota Board of Pharmacy. Today I'm here on For Your Health. I have a very special guest to kick off the show. I do have to give a disclaimer and say, like, the views and opinions on this show are my own. They don't represent any of my employers or affiliates. So, with that being said, I'm very excited to have this phenomenal young lady sitting next to me who is breaking barriers, blazing trails, and paddling down rivers. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Devin Brown. Devin, so great to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from and how did you get here?
Thank you for having me on today. I have been in the Twin Cities for the last decade. 2024 makes 10 years even in February. And I came here with the intention of paddling the Mississippi River. Before moving to Minnesota, I was working for a large technology company and I worked really hard to get this coveted role and fell into a deep, dark depression. And kayaking and the Mississippi River gave me the life that I needed to continue.
Thank you for sharing that. Tell me, where were you born and raised, and where did you go to high school?
Yeah, so I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I was raised in a small town called Glenridge near Montclair, New Jersey, about a $7.50 ride from Manhattan when I was commuting in there for work.
Yep. So, how large was your high school class, and how did that look? Was it a very diverse area, or?
Yeah, my high school class was 96, 94, 96 students. I was one of four Black kids. The town is 3 miles long. We had like four stoplights. The only center of Commerce was like a liquor store. It was a Total Wine, a pharmacy, and a sandwich shop. And that's all we had. So in the town, we went to uh, elementary school together, so kindergarten, or we joined each other in the fourth grade, and then we all graduated together. So everyone knew each other. I was really in this bubble. Um, yeah, I didn't realize how that shaped me until later when I moved to Minnesota and I started to unpack like microaggressions and things like that. But I was really fortunate for the education. It was a small town, so it really helped sort of that small town gave me the support I needed for my learning disability. And then when I got to college, I was above level, which I think if I came up in any other school system, I wouldn't have had the tools that I needed to manage dyslexia.
Wow, your story is phenomenal. You talk about like small town roots and not seeing yourself really in the spaces that you're growing up, and then also having a learning disability where you have been able to rise above that, like being able to read maps and going on to college. But I want to dive deeper into like your journey towards corporate America and how you got there, and then eventually we'll talk about how you got to this space where you were able to heal and find yourself in your passion.
Yeah, so I graduated from high school and went on to a small liberal arts college in New York State, where again I was one of a handful of Black students. I played lacrosse. I quit lacrosse to join a sorority, all white sorority. So honestly, like it's gonna sound really raw, but I didn't realize I was like Black until I moved to the Midwest. I'd always just been in these really comfortable white bubbles where when you grow up with a whole bunch of white folks, like you become one of them, kind of. Um, but yeah, when I got to Minnesota, I really realized that I was not one of them, or like not a part of the bubble, not growing up.
And so is that realization kind of what drove you into like wanting to pursue like your connection with the water and wanting to like kind of find yourself? Earlier you said unpack. Like, is that what kind of drove you to that?
Yeah, I mean, there were things that I loved. Like I loved kayaking and I loved being outdoors and I loved going to summer camp. Um, but trying to find a way that that fit in with the ideal of like what media said that blackness was. And then realizing that being black is not a monolith. And yes, being Black, but also being people and doing the things that we enjoy to do, and also learning the things that are inherently Black, like boating. The Moors built ships to go to Europe. Um, Enslaved people used boats on the Mississippi as a source of economy to travel, all of the things. So, water, if you talk to scholars of water like Dr. Blanking on her name, Anaya Raku, she'll tell you that water is super Black. Like the stories of mermaids, the free diving, all of those things are just inherently Black, and we've just been pushed away from them.
So I like that you're tying that historical piece with this fitness piece and kind of coming into your own. Tell me how you first got into kayaking. I heard you say camp, but when was that moment you knew you fell in love with it?
The moment I fell in love with kayaking was I had worked really hard after I dropped out of college to get this coveted role in this technology company. And it ended up that I walked with a limp for 2 years, and doctors just said that I was overweight. Like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just overweight. I lost the weight and the limp got worse. And something inside of me just told me that this was stress, like literally stress induced piriformis syndrome. So when I left my job, commuting into Manhattan every single day, and went back to my summer camp as an adventure trip leader in my late 20s, the limp was gone. Like it had nothing to do with my limp. It had nothing to do, like I did what society had told me to do. Go get a big girl job, go be successful, this, that, and the third. And it just really didn't agree with who I was. So when I went back to my summer camp, I sort of went back as a reset because it was someplace as a kid that I always just felt safe, to be my authentic self. So I wanted to re-engage with those feelings, knowing that Frost Valley was a place that I could just be who I was. And so as an adventure trip leader, I was blessed to be able to go on to two paddling trips in the Gulf of Maine. So I was responsible for the kids, and we had tour guides, but it was just incredible to be one with the boat and be in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, sea kayaking and seeing like harbor whales and all of these things, and just the repetitive patterns when you're paddling, just how meditative and soothing that like infinity symbol that you make while you're paddling. It's just, it really helped me remember like who I was and like what my purpose was. And I learned that nature, not just summer camp, but nature was, a really important pillar to who I am. And just being active was another thing. I have a body that just needs to stay moving. Otherwise, it just starts to fall apart. Was also something that I needed. So I knew that if I was going to seek happiness and contentment, that I would have to be in nature and I would have to move my body.
I want to thank you for your vulnerability. I think a lot of Black women or African American women struggle when we're in those spaces where we don't see ourselves, right? And we don't think about how the mental connects with the physical and the spiritual. So I commend you. I'm in awe of you
Yeah.
as you sit here and talk about how you were able to break free from that corporate space. Like you said, a lot of times we're pressured to go on and what is actually success, right? Sometimes when I talk to young women, I talk to them about we're working to die instead of working to live.
Mhm.
And your story is definitely an example of what can be done when we're working to live. So thank you for that. And another follow up question. Um, you talk about like being in nature, right? And kind of resetting yourself. Take me on the journey once you got past that summer camp. Like, I'm excited to know how you actually found yourself back here in the Twin Cities.
Yeah. So I met the Twin Cities on a business trip. So thankful to that job because I don't think I would have come to the Twin Cities otherwise. For introducing me to here. I thought it was amazing that I could leave the Southdale Mall. I was resetting or doing a remodel at the Southdale Mall store, and I could leave that store, go rent a kayak on Lake Harriet, and then be home for dinner. And to me, that was just mind blowing. And I think to rent the kayak, it was like $15. And I just floated out in Lake Harriet, and it just brought me back to like who I am and like what was important to me, just that connection to water and to nature. So, how did I get here? I forgot the question.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you're saying that job brought you here, right?
Hmm.
And I know sometimes as much as we move forward, right, when we share,
Yeah.
kind of you have that trauma thing, like you kind of suppress it and you're like, wow, how did I really get here?
Yeah.
So we'll kind of just advance the
Hmm.
conversation and really talk about, tell me this thing that you're getting ready to embark, that's going to be super remarkable. Like we talked about kayaking,
Right.
and then we'll kind of go back to like, what do you actually do
Gotcha. Now
as
I
you
remember
grow
the
up?
question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, when I got back from my summer out in nature being a trip leader, I refused to do anything until it felt okay. And I had the luxury of sitting in my old childhood home in the kitchen and just being able to mull around because my grandmother, my mother, still lived in that home. So one day it was, I'm just going to cash everything out and I'm going to move to the Twin Cities. And then I had a cousin that I could sleep on her couch. And while I was back in New Jersey, I was able to connect with different, and I knew that kayaking and paddling was going to be important. So I wanted to guide on the Mississippi River. And there was this one guide agency that I connected with. And this was before there was like a Zoom or any of those sort of meetings. So Devin Ashley Brown on paper and then my voice, and then I show up to meet this man who owns this kayaking company, and I'm this 200-pound black woman, and that sort of just that shook him. He said that I didn't look like a kayaker, um, to somebody that was training me in, and that I wasn't somebody that he wanted to be the face of my company. He didn't know how guests would perceive me. So I immediately quit. I was like, well, I didn't come here to do your customer relations management software. Like, I came here to guide on the Mississippi River. That company no longer exists. So, karma. And I was like, and I'm going to be a kayaker. Like, I'm going to show you that I look like a kayaker. And then I had another job working for an outfitter up in Clearwater. Clearwater Outfitters. They do trips on the wild and scenic stretch of the Mississippi River. They shuttle your boat. They're an amazing company, family veteran owned. If you're looking for a paddle outside of the city, that's a really great resource to do it. That section of the river is beautiful. Um, yeah, that just do it. Clearwater Outfitting. Um, so I decided to just stick with the outdoor industry because I knew that nature and people that loved nature were going to be my people, and that I wouldn't stray away and get sort of lost in the weeds of doing like technology retail or something else.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. So we talked about, and I think we kind of brushed over this remarkable thing, kayaking that you do. Tell me, how do you prepare for that? Because obviously, when I'm looking at you, you're very fit. You're like broad shoulders, solid, like look very healthy. Tell me how you prepare for that. What does that look like?
Yeah. So after doctors told me that my limp was because I was overweight, chewing is my favorite thing to do. Like, if I could just eat all day, like, I would eat all day. But I also acknowledge that that is not healthy, and that it's important for my body to perform, to eat healthy things. I can't just live off a diet of Takis. I have to eat natural and whole foods to actually build my body in the way that it needs to be for it to perform. So I eat a pretty clean diet. Like, occasionally I do like a bag of Doritos. I drink a lot of water. I try and always stay hydrated. You know, if you stay hydrated, you just got to mind your business because you're always because you're always in the bathroom. Um, but yeah, a lot of fresh fruits. Huel, Minneapolis is one of my favorite places to get my nourishment from, and they make it sort of seamless and mindless for me with the meal prep plan. Um, but yeah, I try and just eat healthy. It's a reflection, like, you are what you eat, and that's not a fallacy by any stretch of the imagination. Like, you can always tell when somebody eats a healthy diet versus when they don't eat a healthy diet.
Yeah, we can definitely
Yeah.
tell, like your skin looks good,
Exactly,
your
right.
body
You
looks
glow,
good.
yep.
Yep,
Mhm,
all of that. I think all of that's important. So we talked about how you feed the body. Now
mhm.
tell me more about like what does your training look like? Um, How many hours a week are you lifting? Are
Yeah.
you in water? How does that look?
So when I came to Minnesota, I switched out of retail and I went back to school and I went to Aveda to become a massage therapist. So being super active as a massage therapist, like I'm massaging bodies for 6 hours a week. So that is one of the ways that I've been able to like maintain my body. Um, at one point, I've weighed 320 pounds and now I'm hovering around like 195 to about 210 depending on the week or where I am in the month. Um, I do train every Friday with a personal trainer at Lifetime, and that's getting in preparation for the trip. I want to make sure that um, I'm able to do the minimum of 50 miles. I don't know if we've mentioned it, but I
No.
am planning to be the first Black woman on record to solo down the Mississippi River in a kayak. And solo means going by by myself with help from the banks, but I won't be paddling consistently in a group of paddlers. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to do the minimum of 50 miles a day without the growing pains that might come along the way.
Yeah, so we're talking about you paddling, and I guess I didn't do
Mhm.
that because, again, that is remarkable, right? You're in this space where we typically don't see Black women um, in this space. And then how did you decide that you were going to embark on this journey?
I decided before I moved to Minneapolis that I was going to embark on the journey. Like I specifically moved to the Twin Cities so that I could get to know and learn the Mississippi River and really connect with the spirit and the energy that is the river.
Okay, so how long ago was that? Because that sounds like a long
10 years.
Okay.
We've been in a deep relationship for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. So we talked about like the body.
Mhm.
We talked about like how you work out. How do you connect mentally and spiritually? How are you preparing for this journey?
So, one of the ways is practicing my vulnerability as a Black woman. It hasn't always felt really safe to be vulnerable, to talk about the depression that got me to the Twin Cities. That was left out of my story for a really long time. And then I just had to lean into that because I do. I think that it's really important because I do know that a lot of people get stuck in the rat race and they're just not happy with it. To show that it's possible to paint your own narrative and create your own life and still have a roof over your head and still figure out how to do what you need, sort of leaning in to your purpose and understanding that God in the universe will take care of you at the end of the day. And then also and def- and also defining what success looks like to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um and not, I mean, I do worry about how I'm perceived, but at the same time I don't worry about how I'm perceived because I'm the one that has to look at myself in the mirror at the end of the day. And I know what that does to my body when I don't and when I'm not true to who I am, like that pain in my butt comes back, like that stress induced piriformis syndrome, and then I have to sit down and take a real good look at myself and say what's not in alignment with who you are. So helping people as a massage therapist find find healing and being a function or a tool in their process, and then learning that I want it to help more people also find their purpose or be a function and a tool in their healing, um, which means that I have to be vulnerable and also talk about my journey and how I got to where I am and how I said, yeah, this isn't working for me, and not continuing down that path, but being like, how am I going to change this? Because at the end of the day, I got to look at me.
That's remarkable. So I know we talked about like you doing kayaking. You're so much more than a kayaker. I understand you are a mother to a beautiful, beautiful son. I
Yes.
think he's 6.
He is 6.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me about your journey to motherhood because again as women or Black women we wear these multiple hats,
Hmm.
right? And for me it's been I found myself that motherhood changed me significantly. So tell me about your journey.
Yeah, motherhood also changed me significantly. I don't think you get out of that process unscathed. It's something that from the moment that you continue, or the moment you decide to continue with that journey, once you find out, you start to make different choices for you because they no longer just affect you. They also affect the life that you're growing and where you go from that point on. One of the biggest things that I've learned about being a mother is that he is going to look me right in the face and he looks just like me and he's going to talk just like me. And if I don't like the way that that sounds, I have to acknowledge that he is just a reflection of me and I need to do the work to change what I don't like in like his response or how he addressed me because at some point I've addressed him like that and that's not fair to him. So I have to do the work to change that. Like I don't reprimand him for having a little bit of lip. I have to reprimand myself for having
Mm.
that lip because that's where he got it from. So I think that has also helped me grow and change and evolve. Like I'll keep it a buck. Like Lachlan happened really fast.
Mm-hmm.
um, but he was also meant to be here. And I think that I needed to learn those lessons that I see every day through him and in him. He's my earth mirror in order to be the woman that I am today. And that's also like part of the journey on the river is that I know out there there's a portal of of my higher self and my highest good
Mm-hmm.
out there. So essentially like when we're talking about the trip, it's always like logistical, but I'm just hoping to find Devin. And like I know who I am right now, but I also know that I'm going to hop a couple of timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really just excited about hopping those timelines and then being able to just check in and connect and like help other people also achieve their highest good. And so, me wanting to get people out on the Mississippi River by paddle share or joining BIPOC paddles with me out there through the Mississippi Park Connection, it's really just trying to share that connection to nature because we are Earth.
Mm.
We are made of water, we are made of metals, we are made of all of the things that the Earth is made of. And we're meant to connect to it. And society does this really crazy job of like disconnecting us from having to pay mortgages and car notes to like heavy rubber soles on our shoes and just making things unsafe. But when we have the courage to connect to nature, we'll have the courage to find ourselves.
I love that analogy because I'm a science fiction fan. And when you talk about timelines or reinventing or finding yourself, I think so often we are not afforded that opportunity because we are caught in this loophole of, like I said, working to die, these
Mhm.
things, and it's never enough. And it's a
Right.
car, it's a house, and then it's kids, and then it's grandkids. So thank you for sharing that experience. I want to get into before we kind of do a big plug about your trip, historic trip at that. Tell me what you actually do as a grown up. Like, what do you do
Yeah.
during the day?
Like what pays the bills?
Right.
Yeah. So I have been a massage therapist. I'm an Aveda grad for the last 8 years. I also have my own massage practice, which I have pulled back a little bit. I actually just hired my first employee, who's another young Black woman, and I'm really excited to mentor her and give her some direction within my practice.
Can I interrupt you real
Yeah,
quickly? The name of that practice and how people can get in
yeah, for
contact with
sure.
that.
It's DAB, so Devin Ashley Brown, CMT, certified massage therapist.com. I will have my new therapist up there lay in the next couple of days so that you can book with her. It's a mobile practice, so she will come to you. I taught her because I was also an educator at Aveda for about 4 years. And that she was one of my most impressive students and like really actually got the message and could see where she needed to go and actually asked me for mentorship. So I was like, okay, let's do this. So that is one thing that has sustained me for years. And then with wanting to have a greater impact on more people, I well what I'll say is I did this race, the Mississippi River race hosted by Two Paddles. I did the 48-mile race. And when I was done with that race where I came in first place woman solo, um, I noticed that there were not enough women of color. Like I yearned for more women of color to be in that space with me. So I started to make all these phone calls or send out all these emails to one was Paddle Share. So that is a um, a self-serve rental station for kayaks that's along the Mississippi River. So if you don't have a car rack or a boat, that's fine. You just have to go to paddleshare.org and that should be up by Saturday, ready for you to reserve your boats to paddle down the Mississippi River. And the North Miss section of the river is also one of the most hospitable sections of the river. Honestly, most parts you can stand in. The water is a little bit high. Thank you, Jesus, because I need that speed, that flow to get me down for this trip that's embarking at the end of the month. Um, so I contacted them and I contacted Paddlebridge, who's also a great tour guide company if you want to hear um, the interpretation of the sections of the river and learn the things that happened during the Industrial Revolution and how things sort of came to be on these different sections of the river. They're a great resource too. And their paddle bridge because they wanted to bridge the gap. They understood that kayaking and paddle sports were overwhelmingly white. So they wanted to reach out because they are avid paddlers and understand just the health benefits of not only being active, but connecting to water. Um, so, long story, I reached out to all of these companies and I was like, I need your boats because I need to connect my community to the Mississippi River. And so the Mississippi Park Connection, who is the only philanthropic partner to the National Park Service, was like, yeah, you can use our boats, but we'll also pay you to do the work because it's actually in alignment with our mission. And we've been looking for someone that can reach out to your community and actually get people on the river. So last summer, I spent the summer hosting BIPOC paddles on top of being a massage therapist and on top of being a mother and on top of being a massage educator. I took on another role and that really filled my cup to be able to just see women get on the river and then let that just plant this seed of wanting to be outdoors. There was somebody, Edrids showed up to every single one of my paddles, and that inspired her to be able to go on a backpacking bike trip up in Ely in that same summer. And so just planting that little seed and giving that confidence that you can be successful in the outdoors and you can also feel the energy of the river and feel empowered to do all of these things helped her connect to nature, which then connects her to her own healing. So I just feel really blessed to be able to do that. And that turned into the full-time job of being the community program manager for the Mississippi Park Connection. So I've been doing that since January. And in that role, one of my main features, so let me back up and say that the Mississippi River through the Twin Cities from Dayton to Hastings is actually a national park. And that's something that a lot of people do not know. And so we've got national park rangers that roam throughout our cities, also offering paddle with the rangers and other ways to connect. So in my role as the community programs manager, my job is to connect people to the Mississippi River in whichever way I feel will be beneficial. So I do public programmings, but I also do the BIPOC and the outdoor programming. And so with the BIPOC and the outdoor programming, I acknowledge that a lot of people are doing recreation. And then I also can acknowledge that a lot of people don't necessarily want to get sore and sweaty. But I need everyone to connect to nature.
Right.
And nature needs everyone to connect to nature. So I try to use some of the practitioners that I had used in my own journey to get to where I am today. Because I can tell you like a year ago, I was not this woman that I am today. I'm always just growing and changing and looking for my highest good. Um, so like Deja Joel, who does body prayers, Chance York, who does yoga and has a practice, peace and practice, Priscilla Moma, who does sound therapy. I've contracted with them to offer healing in nature at Crosby Farm. And I know it's in St. Paul, but but that's what I got. And Crosby Farms is an absolutely magical space. So I wanted to curate healing next to the river. And I really hope that people people go to these events on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings
Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings. And
at
I think
Crosby Farms.
as we're moving into the summer months, right? This is important that we do get outdoors. But it sounds like you have a really good connection with people who promote water safety, where we don't have to be afraid of the water and where we can um, connect to nature. And so I do want to be respectful of your time to let's just talk about this big historical trip that you're getting ready to undertake. Um, so tell me when you're planning on starting this historical trip.
So it's the countdown is real. I am starting on either the 26th or the 27th of this month. So either that Sunday or Monday of Memorial Day weekend, I plan to shove off. Yeah.
To shove off and again, just remind the audience of what you're going to do
Yeah.
again.
So I'm going to be paddling well, it depends on who you ask. The Army Corps of Engineers says that it's 2,300 miles down the Mississippi River. The placard at Itasca says that it's 2,500 miles. The Army Corps of Engineers really goes by the fact that I'll have to walk around some dams. So some of the river is actually not paddleable because I have to take the boat out of the water and hop back on.
Wonderful. So again, I'm so proud of your accomplishments. Like you're remarkable. Like you've inspired me to really think about my healing as a practitioner, right? Sometimes we don't heal ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of things externally to help others. So thank you for that. And I'm sure the audience can appreciate your vulnerability. How can we help you take this historic journey? I know when I had the opportunity to talk to you, like, you're going to need people to support you along this pathway. What does support look like for you?
Support looks like fresh water. I will have the ability to filter, but I would love gallon jugs of water. Support looks like standing on an overpass and cheering me on. Support looks like having a warm bed and a hot shower and someone that has the ability to come and get me off the river for the nights. Support looks like donating to my GoFundMe so that I have the funds to support getting an RV for my mother and my child.
Can I
Yes.
interrupt you right
Yes.
there? Tell me where we can find your GoFundMe and the name of it. And
Yes.
mm,
So the GoFundMe is Get Her Down the River. So the like her, but the apostrophe ER, Get Her Down the River. Or if you do a Google search, I feel like I sound so vain for like Devin Ashley Brown kayaker or Devin Brown kayaker, you will pull up all of my information. You can also find me on Instagram at, and I'm going to say it phonetically first. So Aphrodis kayak, and it's pronounced aphrodisiac. So the spelling is AFRODISKAYAK.
and you're never vain. Just remember you're remarkable.
Thank you.
Your experience is something that we need to share. So self promotion
Yeah.
is always welcomed here.
So hard.
I think sometimes as women we don't do that enough, but me being in this space, I'm here cheering you on. So
Thank
I
you.
know I kind of interrupted you with the support, and I think you left off what you want to spend time with your son. You kind of, I think, parent
Yeah.
in a different way. You have family, so pick up from there if you don't mind.
So the thing that I anticipate missing the most is my child. So to help me stay on task and to get the river done, my ultimate goal would be to have an RV alongside that can hold my mother and my child, so that I will be able to return home to them for at least part of the trip at night.
That's wonderful. What else are you thinking? I mean, a lot of times, as I talk about, like, heard you talk about, like, the healing and pain. Have suffered from chronic pain. Um, for me, I would envision somebody bringing a table and gifting you what you gifted so many other people, like massage or
Yeah.
chiropractic treatment and those things that you would need to stay healthy. What are some of the things that you need to stay healthy?
I mean, a chiropractor sounds absolutely incredible. Like if someone wants to pull up with a table and adjust like my T4 through 8, that's great because it does come out of alignment a little bit while I'm paddling,
Mhm.
just to get through that. I have had a couple of massage therapists actually reach out and say, "I'm a massage therapist. You can stay with me for the night, and I will give you a massage," which also sounds absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think in this space, right, you're doing something that's very historic, right? And your journey to get here. So self promotion and like down to the details. I think if you know me, I'm the kind of person who's like, well, what kind of water do you drink?
Yeah,
Or what kind of things that you need to, make you whole. And then I think about you talking about you being a mom and your son, like activity books or reading books for
mhm.
him, or different things to keep him involved, or drones. Like the list goes on.
Yeah,
And so I know you don't have everything quite set up, but where could we find information about how to donate goods and services? I know we talked about the
yeah.
GoFundMe, and then how can we track you on this remarkable experience?
Yes. So thank you for that because that was great, and it reminded me that so while I was sitting in my childhood kitchen, I had created this blog. So aphrodisiac is something that was a name years ago, before way long ago, like 12 years ago, before I even got here. Um, and so if you go to WordPress dot or aphrodisiac.wordpress.com, there's actually a form on that old blog that people can fill out um, to offer support. I was getting so many offers of support. I was like, I can't keep this straight. So this form allows me and my team to be able to see who who and what people are offering, um, and it gives us the ability to actually enter it into a spreadsheet. You can also find the link to the form in my bio on my Instagram page to make that easy, as well as all of the media and everything that I've done this thus far, like the woman's press article and everything. If you wanted to know more,
Yeah, we will need to know more
yeah,
because as a community, I think it's important that we not only support you here as you start in Minnesota, but leverage our networks to support you along the way. Like
yes,
sometimes I think when I think about your journey, this is an opportunity for you to heal completely, right?
mm-hmm,
And an opportunity for communities show up for you because for me, I sometimes felt like um, people didn't always show up for me, but it wasn't the time. And
mm-hmm,
right now, I think this is your season and your time so that you know you are supported and you're appreciated. And then what you're doing for for young people,
right,
for older people,
for sure,
to remind them that it's never too late to kind of pursue their dreams. And really, when something is just not healthy for you, to just
get out of it.
get out of it and that you can have a whole life outside.
Yes. Have faith that if it's not working for you, that it's not working because there's something else greater out there for you. So I know having the courage to leave a bad job or a bad relationship and all of those things is hard and it's scary. I've done both, and I can tell you the rainbow on on the other side. There's a pot of gold. So leave.
You are preaching right now. You are preaching. What would you like everybody to know, like in closing, before we close out here about you?
Yeah, so you like sci-fi novels. I can be a little woo-woo, right? I'm a massage therapist and like to inspire healing. Um, we were all we when we all came to Earth and decided to come down here, we came down here with a purpose. And society and life's woes have gotten us off of the path for the things that we came to do, but everyone came to do something incredible. So I want to inspire people to remember why they came down to earth and live that. As someone who has suffered from depression, like it was because I forgot what my purpose was, and to get back to that purpose has helped my mental health astronomically. I'm not saying I don't have bad days, but I'm saying that when I remember what I came here to do, when I'm living in my purpose, those bad days are far and few in between.
Well, thank you, Devin, for sharing your experience. I am so looking forward to supporting you personally, professionally, and leveraging my network. And It'll be fantastic to watch you be successful, being the first Black woman to do this. Like, this is history in the making. So, thank you for sharing. Again, I want to thank the audience for listening today. I'm Dr. Ronda Marie Chakolis, and thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.